Welcome to Financially Free Podcast with your host, Nay Torres. One of the reasons Nay could retire when he was 25 years old is because he was coached by the best. And now, through this podcast, so can you.
Hello, everybody, and welcome. Today, we have Roger Bryan. Welcome again to the show. Today, we're going to talk about e-commerce.
Roger. Well, great. Thank you for having me.
No, thank you again for your time. Really appreciate it, brother. What's your experience on e-commerce, and what can you tell people are thinking about? Yeah, I'll do that. Seems easy.
Okay. Well, it's not actually super hard, but it's not easy either. So my first e-commerce business I started in 2008. It's called Thrifted. We were an online bookseller, so we sold books. Some major things about success in e-commerce, and I'll tell the story about my first company, which I sold, and then the second company, which I'm working now, is supply. If you can get a good, stable supply chain set up of a product that has demand with margin in between, e-commerce is very easy. The technical side of it is not that hard. It can be navigated so that you can hire to work through things, and we'll talk about what some of those things are. But in the book business, most people don't understand that 90% of the used books that are sold online are donated. So people donate them to Goodwill, they donate them to Salvation Army, they box them up into these things called Gaylords, which are 1,000 books at a time, and then brokers buy them and then sell them to people that sell them online. Because I had a company that was already working in the nonprofit space, I was able to go direct to the nonprofits, buy them without going through a broker, and then set up my business selling those online, significantly higher margin than most other sellers. When we were at the peak of our business, we had 80,000 SKUs online. We had 300,000 individual items on our shelves, and we had over 1 million books sitting waiting to be sorted. We were selling approximately 3 million books a year throughout the world, both online, individual, and then in bulk to a lot of the African countries. We'd split up the children's books and send them out. This was such a fun business. I sold that company in 2012, which I sometimes regret because e-commerce today in the year 2020 is like the thing for everybody to be doing. In 2008, wasn't the same game. It was, there was a lot less people doing it. It was a little bit easier, there was less competition. So now let's fast forward to today and what it's like. The model itself hasn't changed. In order to be successful, there's 3 elements. You have to increase the number of SKUs that you have listed with good supply. You have to increase the number of marketplaces that you're selling on. And then you have to increase either the frequency of purchase or the amount of purchases, cart value, and multiplying those 3 things together towards your net growth metric. This is something I recently took a program at Wharton, and out of the 16 weeks that I was in the course, the one thing that I remember is that model for growing an e-commerce business coming from a statistician. And I was, that's freaking brilliant. So I don't want to claim that that's mine. I got that from the university.
So let me rephrase what you're saying just to see if I understand. You have to have a supply, right?
Yes.
Cool. That seems odd. Then you have to walk to a conversation that the public's already having. People are already buying.
Yes.
And what was the third one? Margin.
Supply, demand, and then after that, it's technology and infrastructure. I mean, there's really supply and demand. I mean, that's how everything in the world works.
Right.
And let's reverse this and why people fail because they violate this rule, or how people fail because they violate this rule. So the first way is on the supply side. So let's say that you go to an auction and you buy a box of 500 electric toothbrush. Okay, I know this is totally random, but I actually know somebody that did that. Then you go and you set those things up to sell online, and they start selling great. You bought them so cheap, you've got a good margin. You sold 100, you sold 250, you sold 400, you sold 450. You're about to sell out of them, and you're like, shit, there is no more auction that I can go to buy that exact toothbrush at the exact same price that I paid for it. So you didn't start an e-commerce business. You took advantage of an opportunity. Gary Vee would pat you on the back and tell you good job. You didn't really get a business started out of that because your supply is now going to run out. You found your competition model, you found your platform, you found your price point, you set up logistics, you got all of that running, and now you're out of supply. Now you got to start the whole process over again with whatever that next product. A good, successful e-commerce business is going to find a distributor that can get them the products on a steady stream, that has the right margin, that they can get on demand, it's not going to run out, that they can sell. Then you switch to the demand side, that people are going to continue to buy so that there's fluidity and continuity in your, so that's the first way that people fail.
Sorry.
Go ahead. No, go.
Well, I have a question. So why would you see this opportunity when you have other producers? Because you don't really want to produce whatever you're selling, books or whatever it is. You're just selling, right? So
well, no, that's not actually true. We do want to produce a lot of the products that we're selling now, and over the next 24 to 36 months, we do plan on doing that. I look at it as the easiest way to get started is find a good supply of product.
Yeah.
Then white label those products and build your brand. And then once you have a brand built, learn how to manufacture them on your own if you can. Now, I'm not going to be a manufacturer of books and not become a publishing company, But certain products that we sell today, we do have plans in place to manufacture them locally instead of bringing them in from other companies. But we want to build our brand as a white label brand first and then go from there.
It's genius, and that makes sense. You want to have your competitive advantage. You want to create your own product because there's a couple of risks when you're white label, even though you don't have cost. What can you give us examples of products that may be good products or have been in the past? I know
So
that's
it's
a really
hard.
good question, right?
Yeah, no, it is. And it's different for everyone. So let's talk about what we do today. And what we do today is interesting because there's a barrier to entry. So that's why I feel comfortable talking about it. It's like we sell septic products. And most people, I don't, depending on where you are in the world, 21 million households in the United States have septic systems. So that means that we've got a huge audience that demands certain products, their system functioning. So these aren't wants. These are needs. Like people have to have the materials that we're selling. When their system breaks, they need a new pump. When their lid cracks, they need a new lid for safety reasons. So they have to buy these products. Now, on the opposite side of that, there's a barrier to entry. Not just anyone can buy these things. You have to have distributorships. You have to have licensing agreements. You have to be in the industry and actually be doing services to be able to buy these products. So my wife owns a septic services company, and it's a 25-year-old company that she bought 7 or 8 years ago, has done an amazing job growing the business. And it gave us an opportunity to have access to these products. And over the last 2 years, we've slowly been bringing them online, and that business has been growing. It's doubled every year for 3 years in a row, and it looks like it's going to more than double again this year.
Buying businesses, it's something I looked deeply for a whole year back, like 5 years ago. I was just looking at business, but I never really crossed the line. They're hard to find. How did you guys decide to accept the product?
Well, she did this before we even met. So
Cool.
the process that she went through is something that she would have to talk about.
So, okay, so you have this company, and now you're making it online, right?
Correct. Yes.
What
And
would
we've been
do
online. Go
if
ahead.
you don't have any of those? You're starting from zero right now, Roger. What do you do?
Start looking for a product. I mean, there's a lot of great courses out there. Ryan Daniel Moran probably has one of the best ones. I think he's focused more in on the scale side than the start side, but he's got a great podcast. He's got a great blog and things that you can go out there to learn about, like the intricacies of starting. Because of course, you and I are only talking for a few minutes.
Yeah.
But when I think about starting, it is about finding that first product. It's about looking on Alibaba. It's about looking in your local market. Sometimes people overlook manufacturing in their own backyard. It's about looking on eBay for people that sell in bulk. When I was in college doing my undergraduate, my very first e-commerce business was selling the Lacoste shirts, the little alligator shirts. And I would buy them 100 at a time, and then I would sell them online individually. And I'd buy them for like $7 or $8 in bulk, and then I'd sell them for between $35 and $42. And it was huge margin for me. And I could sell 100 to 250 of those a month. Unfortunately, about 6 months into that, people started pointing out that they were counterfeit. Now, I honestly did not know, and I shut down really, really quick. I swear I did not know. I should have known then, but what was I, 21 years old? I should have known that if I'm able to buy them for $7 or $8 in bulk, probably something wrong. But those opportunities are out there. You have to hunt, because once you find the product, that's more than half of the problem of getting started.
So we find a product, Google Ads, then what do we do? Landing page?
No, none of that. That's way too much work.
Okay.
If you can't sell it successfully on Amazon, it's the wrong product to start a business around, because Amazon's there's a little bit of work to getting your account set up with them. You pay $30 a month, but it's the world's largest store that has customers walking into the door every day. If you can't find a way to sell it on Amazon, don't try to sell it anyplace else.
Great. I had an aha moment right now. Okay.
That's been my experience. Now, if you're bringing a brand new product to market that no one knows about, that might be different, but we always want to sell stuff that people are already looking for and already buying.
That makes sense. I'm looking into that. I own lupinibeans.com and all the variations on that. Most people don't know it, but it's the vegetable with highest protein content in the world, and it's something not many people know, but we know in South America a lot. It's just America has to catch up. But I'm finding out that educating people and finding and creating that demand is super expensive, if not.
It's very expensive. I always look at that. It's kind of like a step 3 in the growth of an e-commerce business. You find that first product that you can sell easily on Amazon, then you expand it to other marketplaces like we sell on Walmart, eBay, Overstock, Google Shopping, Facebook Marketplace, all those things that you can just direct integrate into. And then once all of that's working and you've got cash flow and profitability, and a lot of people would argue with me and reverse this role, then work on your own website, your own brand, your own traffic channels and things like that. It's probably 5% of products that are out there that can be done like this. So you've got to really niche down to become a pro at one specific niche. If you're trying to sell toothbrushes, cell phones, hand sanitizer, of course, if you're selling hand sanitizer right now, you're probably making good money if you can get supply. And coffee beans, you might not be as successful as somebody that niches down and sticks to say just plumbing fixtures or just UV lights. So staying focused will get you there. A lot of the top e-commerce guys say you got to own your brand, you got to own the market. We got a notice from Amazon this week that they're not taking any more shipments of products until April 5th unless you're household essential. That's scary. We've got to go 3 weeks without being able to ship new product in, but we have our other marketplaces, we have other distribution centers, so you just have to understand the risk as you're going at this. But if you're starting out today, don't have a ton of cash, find a product that you can sell well on Amazon to get started, because once it sells there, you can sell it any place.
How much would you budget to create your first?
It's hard. It's like today I would want to say, you know what, you need $10,000. But I started a multi-million-dollar company with a $6,500 loan in 2005. So it can be, if you can bootstrap and you are an entrepreneur and you can do the work on your own, you can accomplish amazing things with a little budget. And it depends on the price point of your product. Many of our products today are $200 or $300 per unit, and we have to buy them 50 to 100 at a time to get discounts. So that's going to take a lot of cash. But the buddy that did the electric toothbrushes, I think got 500 of them for like $100 at $2 a piece. They were selling online for 35. So it was a good, like if you're out there, look at the local auctions, look at the wholesale auctions and different things like that. They're in every major city throughout the United States, Canada. I don't know about any place other than that. And just look for something that you can buy in bulk. But before you get into it, think about what your next step's going to be, because once those toothbrushes are sold, you've got the cash, but you're sitting there like, well, what do I do now?
That is really good. I'm changing my point of view, because if you asked me 6 months ago, I would have said, okay, if you want to start a company, you start a web page and start selling through there first, see if there's traction. But then now I'm thinking you really want to do your web page, like when you've proven all these other Amazon.
Driving traffic to it, yes. Setting it up, maybe not as much. Yeah, get it set up, get it registered with Google, make sure that it's properly indexed. And this is my SEO brain that kicks in. But don't start spending a bunch of money on traffic to there. If it's a pre-existing product that already has market demand and you can get good supply, you win. Now, it's not super easy to do that, but it is less expensive, maybe a little bit more time consuming than putting up a web page, driving traffic, and trying to create your own sales. And I guarantee the majority of e-commerce professionals would argue with me on that. But my two success stories in this space have both been built around good supply chain, good margin on an in-demand product. And after that, it feeds itself.
What will most of the professionals tell?
Oh, you've got to build a brand, you've got to build a website, you've got to dial in your traffic, you've got to build a list, you've got to get your audience. And they're not wrong, but I do that a couple steps later than maybe they do.
That's what I'm learning right now. So you have $10,000, you have time, you have energy, you have, let's make it, you go to some webpage, junglescout.com, and start looking for products that fit that 5% that you just mentioned.
Yeah, I love Jungle Scout. I mean, it's on my browser right now. So I look at my supply opportunities. So I look at Alibaba, I look at some wholesale opportunities on eBay, I look at wholesale opportunities local. I take that exact product, I go to Amazon.com, I type it in, I find it, and then I click Jungle Scout, and Jungle Scout tells me how many units a month are sold, what the average price is, what the average net revenue is after Amazon fees, and then I do my math. Do I have a 20+% margin on that? I do. Okay, let's take it to the next stage. Let's look at the seller. Are the sellers selling Prime? Or are they selling seller fulfilled? How much feedback do they have? Where is my store relative to their store? Because it is a competition of metrics.
Okay, so you want to find bad competition, basically 3-4-star reviews, like views like that.
Well, so let's look at it like this. So if you have two products, if two people are selling the exact same product, and let's say that they're selling those toothbrushes for $35 and both people are selling both. So now both people, you have two sellers, same product, both selling for $35. The next thing is Amazon's going to give preferential pricing placement or preferential search placement to whoever's Prime. So if they're Prime, you need to be Prime, which means that you're sending it to Amazon and doing fulfillment by Amazon. Then the next stage below that, remember, price is the same, is who has the best feedback. So whoever has the highest number of feedback relative to score, like we have a 100% positive feedback on our store because we bend over backwards to keep our clients happy. But there are sellers out there that have 95% but have 3,000 feedback where we only have 400 or 500. I'd have to look at what the exact number is. We might not go head to head with them. So now we know we've got to go all the way back up to price. We're going to have to sell for less than $35 in order to win the buy box on Amazon. So we start to go through and maybe look at some trend history of pricing through Jungle Scout to see how much cheaper people have sold in the past. Are we going to get driven down from $35 to $20? dollars, a penny at a time in order to win the buy box. When all of those metrics work out, again, this is why it's not easy. It's still not hard. Then we buy and we move forward. And if we get into a price battle, we get into a price battle. But it gives us some metrics to know that we have an opportunity to keep.
Okay, so you find, how many stores will you open? Will you just focus on one? Or let's say you're aiming for that 10,000 a month lifestyle. You want to make 10,000 profit.
I recommend that everybody reads the book called The One Thing.
The one.
Yeah, because my answer to that question is always the same. One store, one product. Get it up and running. Once it's working, add more products, but stay in the same store niche. Now, there are points in the future where that rule could maybe change, but most people will never reach that. A 7-figure business is going to be best built in one niche.
Perfect. How do you exit the business?
I've exited 3 times. And 2 of the 3 I regret. So I'm probably more in the cash flow mindset now that I'm 42 years old. Can I start a business that's going to be running 20 years from now so I don't have to start another one? I mean, if the answer is yes, then that's where I want to be. But from an exit perspective, each one's unique. Sometimes you sell in your vertical. When we sold our publishing business in the crypto space, we sold to someone that had just sold a publishing business in the photography space and wanted to be in the crypto space. So we were one of the only options for them to buy. When I sold the marketing agency that worked with nonprofits, because we did marketing for nonprofits, for car donations, I actually sold to a chain of auto auctions that wanted to control the inventory that we got through our marketing. They didn't care about the marketing. They wanted to keep running, but they actually wanted the cars. And when we sold the bookstore, we sold to another bookstore. They just wanted the supply and the infrastructure equipment.
You find it through business brokers?
No, I've never used a business broker.
So you just knock?
Yeah, no, I mean, well, I actually have to rephrase that. We did use a business broker for the publishing company, so I have to take that back. And I don't have anything against them, but if you're out there in masterminds and you're networking in your industry or your space, your buyer is probably sitting next to you at your next master.
I understand. Yeah, because they're marketers.
Yeah, well, or they're bookstore owners, they're e-commerce business owners, they own septic companies, depending on where you are. They're in your industry. Now, if you're selling a pizza shop, that might be totally different. Maybe you need a business broker to do that. When we're in the digital space, publishing companies, e-commerce agencies, the buyers are at your masters if you're at the right master.
Talking about masterminds for a second, which is a different subject. What are the best masterminds for you?
I'm not going to answer that question because it's so different for each person.
For you?
Yeah, no, I'm gonna avoid that question. Sorry.
Okay, because you got friends there.
Yeah, I mean, I will make somebody happy, but I'll piss somebody else off by answering that.
Okay.
And it's just not worth it.
Cool. Well, thank you very much for your time, Roger. And again, people, you're starting a business. I think this is the best way probably to do it. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Bye-bye.
Did you learn something today? How can you apply your insights? What's next for you? The fastest way to make things happen is to just share this podcast episode with more people that may find it valuable too. Talk about it with them and surround yourself with like-minded people. Hope you found this valuable. Don't forget to subscribe. See you next time.
This podcast references opinions and is for information purposes only, not intended to be investment advice. Seek a duly licensed professional for investment advice.